So we want to use the superlative. We would say هذا أجمل بيت في الشارع. This is the most beautiful house in the street. Third example, آمنة طالبة صغيرة. Amina is a small student. Amina is a small student. We see how the superlative is used here. آمنة أصغر طالبة في المدرسة. Amina is the smallest student in the school. Good. So we have 1 to 10 exercises here. We went through some of them last week. So we're going to ask for volunteers to do these questions here. The first one, هذه غرفة صغيرة. This is a small room. How do we change this to the superlative? The volunteers. Who do we have here? Brother LG, Nishon, Shazim, Imam, Latif, Neil, Yahya, Brother Sheriff. Good. Any volunteers? All right. The volunteers, we're going to go with Nora first. هذه غرفة صغيرة.
هذه غرفة صغيرة. هذه غرفة أصغر. هذه أصغر غرفة في بيتنا.
All right, good. هذه أصغر غرفة في بيتنا. So this is the smallest room in our house. Okay. Notice here that we switching in the original sentence here. The word صغيرة, حسن, فقير, all these are adjectives. So in Arabic, the adjective comes after the noun is describing. Okay. However, when you're using the comparative and the superlative, or especially superlative, the word comes before. The word comes before the noun it's associated with. Right? So here you will have هذه غرفة صغيرة. We make it into superlative, we say هذه أصغر. The word comes before. Pattern, superlative pattern comes before. أصغر غرفة في بيتنا. Good. Next one. بلال خار حسن. بلال أحسن قار في حينا. بلال جار حسن. Right? Bilal is a good neighbor. بلال أحسن جار في حينا. Bilal is the best neighbor in our area, in our neighborhood. Right? Any other volunteers? Anybody want to volunteer? Okay, who do we have here? Zainab and Salma is there? What about Zakaria, Yahya?
Zainab,
Sana?
you want to talk? Hold on.
Sure.
Yeah, go Zainab. Number 5. Oh,
Yasiran Afkaru Rajulan fi Qaryatina.
ياسر أفقر رجل في قريتنا. Yasir is the poorest man in our village. Okay, so we use the same pattern. فقير means poor, and when we use the pattern Afalu, you get afqaru. Okay? And because we pair it with the noun after it, in the genitive case, we know it is translated in this case as the poorest and not poorer. Okay? Good. Naam. Next one, number 4. There is Zakaria, Yahya. So we have Mickey, Afsana. I don't know if Afsana is there as well, but Kamil, Imam. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. No volunteers. Let's go at it again. Number 4, sorry. هذه ساعة رخيصة. So we're going to translate that. We're going to change that to superlative. We would say هذه أرخص ساعة في وفي السوق. Right? This is the cheapest watch in the market. 5 هذا درس سهل. You would change that to superlative and you would say هذا أسهل درس في الكتاب. This is the cheapest, the easiest lesson in the book. 6 الدكتور زكريا طبيب شهير. Right? Dr. Zakaria is a famous doctor. So when you change that, you would say الدكتور زكريا أشهر طبيب في بلدنا. Dr. Zakaria is the most famous doctor in our city or our country. All right. Next one, Al-Azharu Jami'atun Qadimatun. We would say Al-Azharu أقدم جامعة في العالم. Right? Al-Azhar is the oldest university. Is the oldest university in the world. Al-Alam, right? In the world. Al-Ustadhu Nu'manu Mudarrisun Hasanun. Ustad Nu'man is a good teacher. So then we're going to change that. We will say Al-Ustadhu Nu'manu Ahsanu Mudarrisin Fil Madrasati. Next one. ذلك درس صعب. You would say ذلك أصعب درس في الكتاب. Last one. هذا فصل واسع. This is a big class or a wide class. Then turn that to superlative, you would say هذا أوسع فصل في الكلية. Right? This is the widest or the biggest class in the faculty. Now, any questions or any concerns about this whole concept of comparative and superlative? اسم تفضيل. Simple, simple, simple. You just take the adjective or the word and apply the pattern to it. The pattern is af'ala. The hamza on the aleph first, then the fa with the sukun, then the ain and the lam. So the fa of the word, the ain of the word, and the lam of the word. 3 base root letters. Put it into that pattern. And as we say, if it's comparative, we follow it up with min. And if it's superlative, we follow it up with a word that is in the genitive form. And that word show it is a superlative. All right. Any questions? All right. The next part now, we have the next section in this chapter. We're going to, as I said at the beginning, we're going to look at two sisters of Inna. Right? Two sisters of Inna. That is Lakinna and Ka'anna. So let's look at Lakinna first. Recall that Inna, as I said a few times, we did last week or week before, Inna and all of its sisters, they have a certain effect on a nominal sentence. Okay? Remember, nominal sentence has two parts, mubtada and khabar. When you introduce inna into that, or before that, the mubtada in that sentence becomes the ismu inna. Or if it's one of the sisters of inna, it will become the ism of that particular particle. So in this case, lakinna, when you put that into a sentence, the ism, the mubtada would become ismu lakinna. And the khabar will be khabar lakinna, and so on, right? So, of course, not only that, but it changes the case of the mubtada from marfu to mansub. Marfu to mansub. So that, of course, the sign of raf or something being marfu is the dhamma, all right? The general sign. And the general sign of something being mansub or in the state of nasb is the what vowel on the last letter? The fatha. Fatha on the last letter. All right. So let's see how that changes these words here in the following sentences. The additional comment on lakinna is that it joins two phrases or sentences, as we will see here. All right. At-tulabu kathirun, al-faslu saghirun. Students are many, the class is small. So these are two statements, two separate statements, two separate sentences. Now we can bring them together with lakinna, which we said means but, right? So it's like a conjunction in English, right? So let's see how it comes together here. At-tulabu kathirun. Tulabu, at-tulabu kathirun. Marfu, marfu. Lakinna al-fasla saghirun. So you see the underlying word here. What happened to it? Change from rafa, with the dhamma the last letter, it changed to nasb with the fatha the last letter. Are you all seeing it? Yeah. Second example, Hamidun mujtahidun. That's one sentence. Then you have Sadiquhu kaslanun. His friend is lazy. So you can bring these two sentences together. Hamidun mujtahidun lakinna sadiqahu kaslanun. Hamid is hardworking, but his friend is lazy. The who here means is the attached pronoun his. Alright? So the actual word or the ism of lakinna is the word sadiq. Sadiq. Therefore, because it is ismu lakinna, then it changes. Lakinna has that effect on it, and it changes from rafa, which is the dhamma, to nasb, which is the fatha on the last letter. Is that clear with everybody? Anybody unclear about that? All right, so we have this exercise here. Muhammadun tawilun, Hamidun qasirun. So two statements. Let's bring them together. Muhammadun tawilun, lakinna حامدا قصير. حامدا قصير. Notice that the last word, which is the khabar of lakinna, it doesn't change from raf. It remains in this case of rafa. Okay. Number 2, Aminatu mujtahidatun ukhtuha kasla. Amina is hardworking, her sister is lazy. So let's bring them together. Aminatu mujtahidatun lakinna ukhtaha kasla. Kasla is the feminine form of kaslan. Right? Next one. هذا الدرس طويل. Right? And then the second statement, huwa sahlun. This lesson is long. Huwa sahlun. It is easy. So it's two statements. Bring it together with lakin. Now we get هذا الدرس طويل لكن هو سهل. Now, question here. How do we know, or how do we change this now to reflect? We introduce lakinna into the thing there, into the sentence. We will say lakinna who. We will say lakinna huwa. We will say lakinna who. Good. So where is the ismu lakinna there? Anybody? The ismu lakinna is the pronoun who, right? Huwa changes to who. We have any exercise here? The conversation. All right. If you all can see here, let's kind. All right, so just as you have this pronoun added onto the word ka'anna, see the who here? That's the attached pronoun. So when it's separate, you would say huwa, huwa. When it's attached at the end of a word, you would have it as who. Okay? So in this case here, we would say lakinna who. So the huwa here changes to who. So what we would say for number 3, هذا الدرس طويل لكنه سهل. In this case, the attached pronoun who is the ismu lakinna, and that is in the case of nasb. It is in the case of nasb, but this doesn't change its form because it is mabni. All of the pronouns attached and detached are all mabni. They don't change. All right? They are in the case of nasb or the case of jar in other situations and so on, but they don't reflect those case changes through their vowels or otherwise because they are mabni, right? So it is mansub, but there's no sign of it. We don't see the sign of it shown because it's mabni, right? Number 4, sayyarati qadimatun hiya qawiyatun. My car is old, but strong. My car is old. Sorry, my car is old. It is strong. So if we join the two statements here, we would say سيارتي قديمة لكنها قوية. My car is old, but لكنها is strong. قوية. Again, the here changes to the here changes to Let's share application. Right, the next one. What's the way? Are you all seeing a yellow box appearing over the document here? I see a yellow box. All right, it disappear now. Now it's coming back.
Yeah, we see that.
See the yellow box?
Yeah.
Why? I guess it's not there. All right, let me just try to move this window away from the shared application. All right, continue. You will just try to ignore it, right? You will try to work below it. All right, number 5. All right, continue. Number 5. أخي متزوج. أخي متزوج. And then you have the next part, the next statement. أنا عزب. أنا عزب. My brother is married. I am unmarried. So we bring the two together. You get أخي متزوج. لكن or لكنني عزب. لكنني عزب. Right? So you change the أنا to the يا المتكلم, the attached pronoun. All right. Next one. إبراهيم فقير. عمه غني جدا. Right? So Ibrahim is poor. His uncle is very rich. So you bring it together, you will get إبراهيم فقير لكن عمه غني جدا. So the عمه will change to عمه. The meme here will take the fatha above the shadda. Alright? عمه. The last one here. بيتك جميل جدا. بيتك جميل جدا. Your house is very beautiful. هو صغير. هو صغير. It is small. So bring it together, you would say بيتك جميل جدا لكنه صغير. لكنه صغير. So the هو would be changed to who and attached onto the لكن. So you get لكنه صغير. Right? Any questions on this at all?
Number 5, you could say lakini instead of lakinani.
Inni, yeah, I believe so. I'll have to check that. Because we have, just like with the inna, you could say inni or innani. Okay? So the lakinna, I believe you can say lakinnani or lakinni. Good question. Any other questions? All right, so we're going on to the other sister of inna. So we did one sister, lakinna. Now we're doing another sister of inna, which is ka'anna. So we saw before that lakinna means but. So you have two statements, make one and then you say but, like an exception, and then you make the second statement, right? Here we are using ka'anna. So ka'anna is one of the sisters of inna, and it means or as if, right? As if. So is that like to compare something or draw an analogy for something, right? So this is now this next exercise here, رقم 7. اقرأ المثالين ثم أدخل كأن على الجمل الآتية. علما بأن كأن من أخوات إن. So read the following two examples and then put in كأن in the following sentences, knowing that كأن is one of the sisters of inna. Okay? So in other words, they're reminding us here that we have to apply the same principles behind inna, which is what we just saw before, that you make the word after inna or lakinna, or in this case ka'anna, it has to change to mansub. Mansub. Right? So let's see that in these examples here. من هذا الفتى كأنه أخوك كأنه أخوك. So here we have a question. Who is this young man, or who is this young person, young boy? كأنه, this is the particle here, كأنه, right, is as if, it's as if أخوك, he is your brother, right? Let's look at another example here. Example ba. من هذه الطفلة من هذه الطفلة كأنها أختك كأنها أختك. Who is this child, or tifla is like a baby or a toddler. So who is this female toddler or little girl, you can say? كأنها is as if she, it's as if she, أختك is your sister. It's as if she is your sister. All right, so let's see how this is applied here. هو زميلك. هو زميلك. So what you would say here is that you would say كأنه زميلك. كأنه زميلك. Next one. هي طبيبة كأنها طبيبة. It's as if she is a doctor. هم طلاب, they are students. كأنهم طلاب is as if they are students. أنت مريض, you are sick. You introduce كأن, you will say كأنك مريض. كأنك مريض, as if you are sick. هو مدرس جديد. He is a new teacher. You would say كأنه مدرس جديد. Last one. Anti ukhtu Maryam. Anti ukhtu Maryam. Me. Let's say كأنك كأنك أخت Maryam. All right. So this is two of the sisters of Inna, Lakinna, and Ka'anna. Just want to pull out a few verses from the Quran where we see these two being applied. So I'll just switch over to that document now. You'll look at them briefly, and then we'll go back into our exercise 8 here, right? All right. So in Surah 14, Surah Ibrahim, verse 11, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna nahnu illa basharun mithlukum. ولكن الله يمن على من يشاء من عباده. So here we see lakinna. Notice here, remember we said lakinna means what? Ka'anna is as if. Lakinna is but. Right? So lakinna Allah. We said lakinna is one of the sisters of inna. I said inna causes the word after the ismu inna, or in this case ismu lakinna, to be in the case of nasb, or the accusative case, and this is normally reflected by a fatha on the last letter. Okay? So see that? Right. So this is Surah 14, verse 11. Other example, Surah 2, verse 177. Anybody know the name of this verse? Normally referred to as Ayatul Ayatul 2177. Ayatul Bir. Called Ayatul Bir. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَكِنَّ الْبِرَّ وَلَكِنَّ الْبِرَّ. So here we see the word lakinna, lakinna, one of the sisters of inna, therefore the ismu lakinna will have to be mansub, and we see it here, right? It's not al-birru, but it is al-birra. Why is it al-birra with the fatah? Because it is the ismu lakinna, it comes after lakinna, right? ولكن البر من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتاب, and the verse continues. Right? Another example from Surah Baqarah, verse 253. ولو شاء الله ما اقتتلوا ولكن الله يفعل ما يريد. Right? So here we have lakinna again, and we have Allah again. Here the word lafzul jalala, Allah, it is mansub, it has the fatha on the last letter because it is ismu lakinna, comes after lakinna. Right? Good. We have two examples of ka'anna here. Surah 79, verse 46, this is Surah Nazi'at. كأنهم يوم يرونها لم يلبثوا إلا عشية أو ضحاها. So here we have كأن hum. So it's joined to the pronoun, attached pronoun. This would be ismu lakinna. It is in the state of nas. However, there is no visible sign of it being in a state of nas because it is a pronoun. Pronouns do not change with case, so therefore they are called mabni. However, we have to know that because it is ismu lakinna, ismu ka'anna, it will be in the case of nas. All right? كأنهم كأنهم. Another example here. كأنه جمالة صفر. This is Surah 77, which is Surah Musalat, verse 33. كأنه جمالة صفر. So here the who, pronoun who, will be the ismu كأن. Ismu كأن. It is in the case of nas, because it is ismu كأن. However, because it is a pronoun, it is mabni, doesn't change. Therefore, it still carries a dhamma. All right. Any questions on that? Questions? No. Yes. However, the pronouns are, whether they carry a dhamma, fatha, kesra in the original form, they remain as that in all cases. All right. Because the ha, if this was ka'annaha with the alif at the end and the fatha, then that fatha wouldn't be the fatha of nasb, because in the case of nasb, that fatha is because the original pronoun carries a fatha. All right, so it doesn't change the fatha. We have. Okay. All right, so let's go back to number 8 here. So if there's no questions, any other questions? I'm just gonna try to get this yellow box off of the screen here. I'm just gonna stop sharing and then I'll start back sharing to see if I get this thing off of the screen. All right. So just give me 1 second. I will just stop sharing this file and then I would start back again. Still come back. All right. So let's continue, inshallah. So we have Rakam Thamania, number 8. Ikra ma yali. So now we're gonna drill long into the numbers from 11 to 20. Remember, many weeks ago we did numbers from 3 to 10. We did 1 and 2, and then we did 3 to 10. All right? This was many weeks ago. And now we're going to look at from 11 to 20. 11 to 20. So we're going to read this first, and then we're going to just make a few observations on how this is structured. So you all could follow in the book. Remember, we're on page 23. So we have, first of all, 11. You see the number on the side here, and then we see it in words next to it, right? So 11. Ahada ashara taliban. Ahada ashara taliban. So if you all can say it after me, and then we will go into the structure of it after, right? So say after me. Ahada ashara taliban. Ahada ashara taliban. إثنا عشر طالبا. إثنا عشر طالبا. 13 طالبا. 13 طالبا. 14 طالبا. 14 طالبا. 15 طالبا. 15 طالبا. Next column, we're going across to 16 طالبا. 16 طالبا. 17 طالبا. 17 طالبا. 18 طالبا. 18 طالبا. 19 طالبا. 19 طالبا. 19 طالبا. 20 طالبا. 20 طالبا. All right. So these are the numbers for, remember, when you deal with numbers, two terms we have to remember. The two terms is the adad and the ma'dud. Adad and ma'dud. The adad is the number and the ma'dud is the thing that is counted. All right? Adad is number and the ma'dud is the thing that is counted. So in this case, we have a masculine ma'dud, Taliban. Okay? If you remember, so if you want to take this reminder, the note that I mentioned a while back, whenever we have the number, if you go back to number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1 of course is singular, so the ma'dud will be singular. 2 of course is dual, so the ma'dud, the thing which is counted, will be dual, right? And from 3 to 10, the ma'dud is plural. So we use the plural form of the word for once it is, the number is between 3 or from 3 to 10. We use the plural of the word. Once we cross 10 and we go into 11 onward, then we have to use the singular. So that's why we use the singular here. Taliban is the singular of the word Tulaban, of course, right? So just remember that. So the plural of any word is only used from numbers 3 to 10. Right? After that, we use the singular of the word. Right? So the ma'dud, first observation we make here is that the ma'dud is singular. Right? For all the numbers from 11 to 20, the ma'dud is singular. Second observation we can make is that from numbers 11 and 12, right? Right, before we get to that, the numbers from 11 to 20, 11 to 19, 11 to 19, they are what you call murakkab. Murakkab means like composite, a composite word. In English, we call it a composite word, right? Made up of two separate words. So it's murakkab. It's two words. One is, of course, 10. Ashara is 10. And of course, the word before it is what goes with the 10 to make the number. So 1 and 10, 2 and 10, 3 and 10, 4 and 10, and so on, right? So it's two words to make the number here, right? So that's the second point. Compound word, sorry. What did I say? Composite word, compound word, right? So it's a compound word. It's two words come together, right? So that's the first point to remember, is that the ma'dud is singular, right? And the adad, it is a compound word. All right, so numbers 11 and 12, both parts of the compound word, they agree with the ma'dud. They agree with the ma'dud. So the ma'dud, it is, in this case, it is masculine. So both parts of the compound word, they agree in gender with the ma'dud. So this is masculine. Here the ashara is masculine, and the ahada is also masculine. See, no tarmabuta here. You all seen that? So numbers 11 and 12, the both components or parts of the compound word, they agree with the ma'dud in gender. Right? Ahada ashara taliban, ithna ashara taliban. Masculine, masculine, masculine. Masculine, masculine, masculine. Okay? That's for 11 and 12. Now from 13 to 19, the ma'dud in gender. Both components agree with the ma'dud in gender. And we have two parts of the compound word, right? The compound number, right? From 13 to 19, the first part of the compound word is the opposite gender to the ma'dud. This is just like when we counted from 3 to 10. Remember when you count from 3 to 10, the number is opposite gender to the ma'dud. The adad is the opposite gender to the ma'dud. So if the ma'dud is masculine, the adad will be feminine, return wabuta. Right? If the ma'dud is feminine, then the adad number will be masculine without the tarmabuta. Alright? However, the second part, which is the ashara, it still agrees with the ma'dud in gender, the masculine, right? So we do any masculine ma'dud in this exercise. When you go on to the next few exercises, we'll do the feminine ma'dud. Yes, no? 11 and 12, both components agree with the ma'dud in gender. Both components of the compound number. Ahada ashara taliban. Ithna ashara taliban. Right. 13 to 19, the first part of the compound number, right? It's in the opposite gender to the ma'dud. Opposite gender to the ma'dud. So in this case here, we have a masculine ma'dud, right? You have a masculine ma'dud. The second part agrees with the ma'dud, and the first part is the opposite, right? So the ashara is still masculine, just like the Taliban, all right? However, the first part, it is the opposite. It's the opposite gender. Any questions so far? All right, the third note you have to take here. So the first note was what? 11 and 12, both parts of the compound word agrees with the ma'dud. Second note is that from 13 to 19, the first part is opposite gender to the ma'dud, and the second part is the same gender as the ma'dud. All right, so now the third note is that the case, the numbers from 11, from 13, sorry, the numbers from 13 to 19, they are what you call mabni, they are indeclinable, so they do not change. Depending on the case, they don't change. They always carry the fatha on the last letters, right? So you would see here, thalathata ashara. This is mabni. Doesn't matter what case this comes in the sentence, it will always have the fatha on the end of each of the parts of the compound group, right? So, thalathata ashara, arba'ata ashara, khamsata ashara, right? Sittata ashara, sab'ata ashara. So it's always have the fatha, so it's mabni. However, the for numbers 11 and 12, 11 and 12, they are not mabni. So ahada can change, right? And ithna can change, right? Is the sorry. Um, ithna is mabni, not the ahada. So just number 12 is mabni, right? As I said, numbers is the hardest part of Arabic grammar. And this is probably the hardest section of it, from 3 to 10, and of course from 13 to 19. So remember number 12, all of it is mabni except um, except the ithna, except number 12. All right? All of it is mabni except, so 11, 13 to 19, they are mabni, don't change. All right? Number 12, the ithna part of it can change. All right? Now, as I said, we deal with the masculine ma'dud here, masculine form of the counted object, right? Later on, you'll do the feminine, and you'll see how the numbers change when the ma'dud is feminine, all right? So for now, this is the masculine form. All right, and number 20, it is it has the same form for both masculine and feminine, right? So whether it is a masculine ma'dud or feminine ma'dud, the adad, which is ashrun, it is the same, right? However, I believe this is not mabni, so this can change with case and so on, right? We'll deal with that later on, inshallah. Any questions on this? All right, so it's 8 o'clock now. We're just going to look quickly at this lesson 9 or exercise 9, which is basically we try to apply these numbers here to these sentences, all right? واحد في الفصل تسعة عشر طالبا. So this first one, number 19, right? We have it here already. تسعة عشر طالبا. We have it from the examples above, right? تسعة عشر طالبا. Number 2, اثنين. عندي 15 كتابا باللغة العربية و12 كتابا باللغة الفرنسية. So I have 15 books in Arabic language and 12 books in French language or in French, right? Please remember the ma'dud has to be singular, so you don't say kutub, we say kitab, kitaban, okay, kitaban. Number 3, ثلاثة. رأى يوسف عليه السلام في المنام 11 كوكبا, right? So Yusuf alayhi salam, as Prophet Yusuf, saw رأى في منامي, in a dream, or in his dream, 11 كوكبا, right? 11 stars, right? Or 11 planets. 11 كوكبا. 4 عندي 20 ريالا. عندي 20 ريالا. 5 كم فندقا في هذا الشارع. How many hotels are there in this street? فيه 13 فندقا. Right? Remember we use the singular, we don't use plural. Singular, once you cross 10, we use the singular. Right? So 13 فندقا. Next one. في هذه المدينة 14 مسجدا. In this city there are 14 masajid. Right? We say masajid in English, so actually we say masjids. Right? But in Arabic, once you cross 10, we use the singular masjid, masjidan. Right? Of course, the ma'dud is in the accusative form. Right? So we put the tanween on it. Tanween fatha on it. Right? 7 ثمن هذا الكتاب 17 ريالا. The price of this book is 17 riyals. Right? في هذا الكتاب 20 دراسا or درسا 20 درسا. In this book there are 20 lessons, right? في السنة 12 شهرا. In the year there are 12 months, right? All right, so we'll stop here today. So please reread the last 3 exercises we did, which would be numbers 7, 8, and 9, right? We use the ka'anna, 6, 7, 8, and 9, which is the lakinna, ka'anna, and then we have the numbers, right? So please reread them. Any questions, quick questions before we end? So basically we looked at 3 aspects or 3 concepts that are dealt with in this chapter. One is 2 of the sisters of Inna, and then we looked at the numbers from 11 to 20. Next week, inshallah, we'll go over the numbers again because we need to have a little more practice in this, and then we'll look at the ordinal numbers, which is like, awal, athani, athalith, and so on, right? First, second, third, fourth, and so on. Any quick questions? All right, so we can close off Surah Al-Asr and dua for kafara. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.